tell everyone a little bit about yourself, your name and about you, please?
So, yeah, my name is Simon Green. I live in Pencoed in Bridgend area. I grew up in Bryntirion and Glas, and I now live in Pencoed. I'm 44 years old, but like to think I look 24. But I chair Bridgend Coalition of Disabled People. I'm a trustee with Disability Wales. I've been a wheelchair user myself since 2003, mostly due to a neurological condition I have called neurofibromatosis, which has caused many health problems my whole life. That's a brief description of myself. I consider myself quite outgoing. I do a lot of work in my local road club, and I just like to be as normal as I can, to be honest.
And how has lockdown been for you? So obviously back sort of March time. Can you talk us through like the experience for you for lockdown?
Lockdown was probably extra difficult for myself. I mean, the whole of Wales, the UK, the world have suffered. But I had some very bad news during lockdown. Going back 2 years ago in 2018, I was diagnosed with a brain tumour, and 2 operations dealt with that better than medics thought they would. I was told a second operation could result in paralysis, loss of speech, loss of memory, learning disabilities, and various things. But luckily it didn't, and they got far more of the tumour than they expected. And last year in 2019, I was quite fit and active. We had a number of marathons and half marathons to raise money for different charities. But back in March, at the start of this year, just before lockdown happened, I started to feel a little bit unwell. And I thought, oh, there's something wrong in my head. And I thought my scan is due in 10 days, 2 weeks max time. So that'll pick up anything that's untoward, that shouldn't be there. Then a day or two before the scan was supposed to happen, I had a letter from my daughter to say this was cancelled, and all non-urgent MRIs and scans were being cancelled because of coronavirus. And I rang up numerous times to sort of say, look, please go ahead with the scan. I'm feeling this isn't to me. This is a non-urgent case. But I got fobbed off at first. But obviously, I rang numerous times, and about 2.5 months later, I did get a scan. So when we were in lockdown, it's quite, I only had the 4 walls of my house to look at, and people couldn't come and visit. I couldn't go out to theirs like I usually do. So I was worried, to be honest. I was quite worried. And I eventually did have the scan done towards the end of May, and then a phone call the next day to say, oh, yeah, you were right, your brain tumour is back, and unfortunately it's grown too big, we can't operate again, and it's spread amongst the brain, so there's nothing we can do, surgery-wise. And then within another month, we transferred to Lindred, the cancer specialist, who told me that they couldn't operate, but any treatment, I was up, and then I had 2 months of chemotherapy. Any treatment would be a life prolonging thing, not a cure. So they said, with the treatment, with good treatment, it works. Then I'm looking at another two good years. So, but being in lockdown affects everybody, affects mental health. I've been given a bad cancer diagnosis, but having both together was difficult. And also, I was shouting and swearing in my head. So I'm thinking to myself, well, if I'd had a scan in March, when they said I would it be something they could better do? Because I waited 2.5 months to be seen, and then another month to be transferred to Wildmill, so it's 3.5 months really. So it was very frustrating. So I found lockdown really, really hard, because not only was it just sitting watching, 4 walls and becoming a bit of a Netflix junkie, I was also having to first of all deal with the worry: is there something wrong with my head? And then being told there is something wrong with your head, and then waiting for the treatment to start. And what was frustrating was when, I had plenty of offers, people drove me to Valindra to get the treatment done and drove back. Was normally they come in, have a drink, and we get a takeaway, and might share a bottle of wine in the evening. A lot of the time, they people couldn't do that. and I'm actually starting my radio February tomorrow, and obviously I've got to go every day for 6 weeks, and normally, on the way back from the hospital, if I'm feeling well, we'll go for lunch or
you'd have that different kind of support,
but people can't come in the house, so the short answer is I find lockdown very hard because I was dealing with lockdown. I was dealing with this on top of that.
Now, obviously, we know about your training and the way you use your sort of marathons and races to sort of help you. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with your exercise and how that's kind of benefited you?
It benefited me hugely. Like 2 years ago, they told me that I need permanent care or I need help. I wouldn't be able to go down the road, and I might need someone to look after me. But I wanted to give two fingers up to some medics nicely. If it wasn't for medics, I wouldn't be here. They were just to prove people wrong. So I wasn't given a very good prognosis in 2018. And then going back to November 2018, I had some quite good news. I had the scan done, and it showed that they got rid of far more of the tumour than they said they would. And I lost my power of speech for a while, but that had come back. And other symptoms hadn't happened, and I saw a friend of mine via Facebook had signed up to do the Newport Wales Marathon the following beginning of May, and I thought, oh, that was a good idea. So, but I signed up for it as well. So I got myself fitter, and I did it. And then a good friend of mine who at 21 developed a disease called transverse myelitis, and she will get paralysed. She came with me 2 weeks after that event to the Royal Garden Party, and we placked out the crowd to meet Prince Charles. And we spoke, and she told Prince Charles about her condition, what happened to her. And about 2 days later, I had a phone call, and I thought it was a friend winding me up, so I almost told this person to go away. And so this very posh voice said, "Oh, hello, is that Simon Green? We understand you went to the garden party." And I almost went, "Oh, actually, a couple of Swansea MPs." And I thought, well, my phone said anonymous call, so I said, "Well, I better answer this. I'm sorry." And I went to the side, answered it. And if I wasn't in that meeting, I would have told them where to go.
Yeah.
And then I realised, God, they're genuine, and I put them in touch with Helen. And what they said, with extra physio treatment, that you might get some mobility back. So the only thing they didn't do, which I was a bit frustrated with, was offer to pay for it. But obviously, this treatment costs thousands and thousands of pounds. So I immediately did another 4 marathons, did numerous half marathons and 10Ks to try and raise funds for Helen to get this treatment. And I frankly say, a lot of the treatment has been successful. She's got a lot more arm movement, a lot more head. She'll unfortunately always probably use a wheelchair and always be paralysed in some of the body, but she's got a lot more feeling. But the good thing was, I did all these events and marathons. When I seen the doctor late last year, they were quite surprised how fit I was. And people I've said, she said, it's my fitness and determination that has kept me going and kept me alive. So this year, I signed up to do numerous events. And unfortunately, due to coronavirus, they've all postponed, they've all been cancelled, which was really, really frustrating. But there was the Severn Bridge 10K about 4 weeks ago, and I really wasn't that fit at the time. And it was the English side of the Severn Bridge, going across and back. And I did it, and it took me like 40 minutes longer than normally a 10K did. But I was glad to finish it, and was really pleased. But then I then did the London Marathon, which is quite a prestigious event, and it was postponed in April to October the 4th, and it was then cancelled. But then I was told I can do it virtually, and I thought, so I signed up for it, and it's actually a week today. So I read February tomorrow. I've been told that any symptoms don't tend to happen for 2 or 3 weeks into the treatment. So people think, oh yeah, great, I'm handling it fine. And then 2 or 3 weeks into the treatment, it's like an accumulative effect. It's like it's super 6. So I think, I'm perfect. So I've trained, and I'm actually doing the virtual London Marathon. I'm wheeling across from where I live is Pencoed Social Club, so I'm leaving from there next Sunday at 10 o'clock. I'm wheeling to Bridgend through the industrial estate, round a few estates and coming back. So I've mapped the route. It's just under 27 miles, so obviously it's 26.2 is a marathon. So I think that's going to be enough to do the course. So yeah, that's a week from now. And when I finish this call with you guys, I'm actually going on the final training session and to look at some of the routes I've decided to do to make sure they're accessible, because obviously I'm doing it in the wheelchair.
Yeah, very best with it. Can you tell us a little bit about WizKids and because that's the charity you're going to raise funds for, isn't it?
Well, it's quite strange. Like last year, there was quite a lot of money raised for other charities and to help Helen. But when I originally, I entered the London Marathon, I didn't get in. I was gutted. And then straight away, a number of charities contacted me, said, "Oh, you can have one of our places." Now, whereas I think they do fantastic work, because I didn't have the condition that they deal with, or I didn't have a real feeling. But I've done a lot of work with WizKids over the past couple of years, and Jane, who runs WizKids in South Wales, the kids all love her, and she's invited me to a few different events, and I've seen the looks in their faces. They had a surfing day down Barry Island. They teamed up with Surf Mobility. And lots of the kids had never been on a beach before, so having the beach wheelchairs and being able to go on surfboards, which had a seat, and being able to take them out to sea. And I went to they go in racing cars, they go around Clandau racetrack and rock climbing, and they were great. And I thought, I wonder if WizKids have a place, because I was looking for a charity. So I contacted Jane. She put me in touch with the head office, and they did. They did have places in London Marathon, and I got one. And they are an excellent charity, and they help children get the right wheelchairs. Because I know what it's like to have the right wheelchair. When I first became disabled, I had a big, heavy, bulky chair, which was a nightmare to get around. And I had to go back and live with my mother for about 6-7 months after I became disabled. And the fact that she had to lift my heavy chair in the car, and the wheelchair I got now, like you could pick it with one hand. It's really light. And lots of kids were like 5, 6, 7, early teens, don't go out and play, don't take part in social activities, not because they can't do it, because their wheelchairs are rubbish. But having these lightweight chairs, which was good, help to fund, and doing all these activities, it's great to see. So as soon as there was no option really, so I wanted to raise money for WizKids.
Can you tell us how we can support you? So do we go to a Just Giving page?
It's a Virgin Giving page. So it's quite a long website, so I don't know off the top of my head. But
we'll share the link. We'll make sure.
Yeah, I can share the link. Unfortunately, text giving is finished now, so people used to be able to, especially if they would just donate a small amount, could donate by text. But yeah, it's gone up to about £2,000 so far, and I'm hoping on the day it goes up a lot. A lot further. And we collect a lot of money in the day, because there's going to be a couple of people cycling with me, because unfortunately the roads aren't closed like a normal marathon event. So a lot of it's going to have to be on pavements. But if I'm on the road, they're going to have a cyclist in front of me, behind me, to make sure that nobody runs me over.
Yeah. Can I ask a question, Simon? I was going to ask you, what kind of support you're going to have? You just mentioned somebody's going to be in front behind you. Yeah. What support are you going to have during the marathon next Sunday?
Well, I've been told that I'm wheeling from Pencoed through a number of estates around Bridgend, and a few people have said, "Oh, what time you come into my street?" And unfortunately, I've had to tell these people at first, well, I don't know, because I could be there an hour, it could be 2-3 hours, depending on how quick I am. But it's not out yet. But this week there's going to be a London Marathon app, so people can actually track and trace me, so they know when I'm 10 minutes away from their house. So I'm going to, for my route out, the route I'm going to do, and can actually go. And I know that, especially when I finish, our local MP is going to come along to the finishing line. And there's a number of people that said they're going to support me, or they're going to make sure the kids are in the particular street. So I changed my route. I was make sure I go down a certain street. I'm like, oh God, crikey, I got a shindig game now. So yeah. So I'm dreading it, because obviously I'm going to be quite shattered afterwards. But I'm looking forward to it as well. It hopefully raise a lot of money for WizKids, and it'd be great, because Justin and Louise who've offered to cycle with me, which is great, and lots of people on the route have offered to run or jog or walk some of the route as well. And nobody's offered to run the whole route with me because they say there'd be certain occasions where I'd go a bit too fast for them. So.
Can I just ask another question? Sorry, Simon. Sorry, Serena. What is your training regime?
Well, the thing is, I do go out a lot in the wheelchair and just practice, because the route I'm doing next week I've done in stages, partly to get fitter and partly to make sure that it's definitely accessible, because there's quite a few lanes between the bottoms of the streets I'm going to go down, just to make sure there's no massive steps. Because there was one route I wanted near Asda in Bridgend Town Centre to go down, and I went a couple of days ago and found out there was a big, massive, steep set of steps going down. So I obviously have to do an unrestricted area. But also, kind of Helen, who I mentioned earlier, her brother dropped off a number of weights. So I just to keep my arms fit, and I lift my wheelchair over my head as well, just stay fit and active. Because I don't have a racing chair, what I don't want to do is I don't want to damage my wheelchair ahead of the race. So I'm actually going in to have a service on Wednesday, so a few days before, and then I think for Wednesday to Sunday they don't recommend you do anything massive and big long wheels or runs. So I just try and stay fit in the house, eat the right stuff a day or two before. So yeah, it's just positivity and keeping fit and going out. Obviously, I've not gone out as much as I'd like to under this lockdown, because I live in Bridgend County with lockdown, unfortunately. And like to change my route, because originally I was going around Bryntirion and Harren. I was doing like a figure of 8, but that's an RCT, isn't it? So I can't go through there. So I'm now staying within Bridgend County.
Can I ask, obviously now we're facing these local lockdowns again, given your experiences in that sort of first part of lockdown, what do you think we can learn, or what could we improve, for based on your experience, what could be better as if these lockdowns keep happening?
Just first of all, be kinder to each other. Realise that we're all suffering. We're all, I've seen loads on social media and on the news saying, "Oh, we're doing another lockdown. I'm gonna get bought in the house." But there's people there with disabilities and illnesses who don't have anyone to come around, who might have people coming on regularly, but all of a sudden don't because of the lockdown. But in the long run, the good thing, if anything good is going to come from this, it's shown that disabled people can work from home. You can do jobs. You can do things. Like a friend of mine, Joshua Rees, did a really good piece on the news last week, showing that during this outbreak, he's worked from home on the computer and quite successfully. So why can't he work from home permanently? If he's too ill to get into work, or if there's not accessible transport to get him to where he needs to be, why can't he just sit on a laptop and do the work he would do in an office? Obviously, it's better to see someone face to face. But I'm also hoping that people realise, because a few friends of mine that have suffered from serious illnesses or paralysis have said, "Welcome to my world," because I never go out. I can't go out unless someone takes me. Like somebody walked past my house a couple of days ago and said, "Oh, great, the pub local to me, they're open there soon." I'm like, "Well, I've never been there because I can't get in. I can't use the toilet." So I'm hoping that people realise what it's like to be shut in, having their favourite pub, their favourite restaurant closed. Well, I can't get in. Before I was a wheelchair user, my favourite restaurant, I used to go there regular. All of a sudden, I couldn't get anymore because I used a wheelchair and there were steps. So I'm hoping that people realise that a lot more. The home working as well is essential, but just you don't have to go in the house, which we can't. But just check on the neighbour, just make sure they're okay, especially if you've not seen them for a few days. Maybe knock at the person's door and go into their garden, walk down the path, and just check on them, see if they need anything from the shops, or pick that for them, or anything done, because it makes a huge difference. Like somebody during the lockdown when I was having the treatment, feeling ill, my phone rang, and it was a friend of mine, John, and he just said, "Oh, I'm driving through Pencoed, and he just stopped at my house." So he stayed with my mate. I went to the door, and we just had a chat, and that felt so good, because it was just, and we didn't chat about my illness. It was about the rugby. The fact that the rugby is probably going to be cancelled or delayed to start the season. So, and that was great, and just be normal, because I'm not going. I'm sorry if I'm going off point. What's frustrating friends is that people ring me, and instead of saying, "Oh, hey, how are you? How are things going?" They go, "How are you? Oh, you okay?" I was, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm not. I'm Simon. I'm still Simon Green. I'm not Simon the wheelchair user. So talk to me normal. Talk to me normally. Don't just say, "Oh, how are your symptoms? How or any news." So that's what I hope people treat me. Even if this radio every day in 2 weeks' time causes me to be really, really ill, I want people to, if we're allowed to, people to come around and tell me I'm an idiot. If I'm an idiot, not be nice to me because I have this because I'm having this treatment.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. And as I say, we really do wish you all the very best. Next week we'll be watching your progress.
Yeah, well, I can send around the app. I haven't got it yet, but this week I'm going to have the app. Something I did have was that's the number I got to wear.
Hey.
But they sent me two apparently, but one is to go on the back, so the back of my chair, and one is to go on the front of the jersey. So unfortunately, it's not London. I'm not winning from Blackheath to Buckingham Palace across Tower Bridge. So Bridgend Industrial Estate and Newbridge Fields and everything. And Cefn, Glas, Brackla, Bryntirion, they won't be the same as London, but what I'm hoping, it's like a motivation of mine, because obviously I can't wheel through London this year. They deferred my place till 2021, and what I'm hoping is I'm fit enough to do it. And that is a big motivation, because what I say to anybody that's ill, has been given a bad diagnosis, been told they've got shorter time to live, is to have something to look forward to. Absolutely. Now, there's every chance that I might not be able to look forward. I might not be able to do it, but training for this and thinking, right, and we fit to do this. London Marathon next year.
Can I ask a question? Is that all right? Can I ask a question, Serena? Yeah. Simon, what do you think makes a marathon participant? What are the skills? What are the characteristics? What are the drives?
And you've got to do a marathon. You've got to be pretty stupid, because people have said, "Why are you doing this?" Because relatives of mine saw the way I've looked after. I stayed with them and I'd done Bournemouth Marathon and New Forest Marathon down south, and they saw what I looked like afterwards. They thought, "Why did you do this? Why did you do this?" It's because it's A, to show people I can, and B, because you sort of get addicted. It's almost like a drug, or when somebody's addicted to smoking. No, I love collecting medals, to be honest. So yeah, I just want to complete it. And the fact that I know that last year the first race raised just over £6,000 for two charities, and then we raised about £7,000 for Helen's fund, and so far it's gone £2,000 for Whiz Kids. And doing these events just makes you feel so much better, because you know that you're helping other people as well as doing something yourself. So there's two reasons. A, to get fitter and to prove a lot of people wrong, and B, to raise a lot of money. But I met a lot of people that are just addicted. They don't raise money. They just like racing. They like doing these events, and great. And I say to anyone out there, even if you do lose, if you're not fit enough to wheel or run a marathon, if you're going to move one arm, just do that. Because, like I said 2 days before, we formed a dance club with our disability group.
Yes.
We have a few members who can only move one arm, and the fact that they can move their arm to rhythm, to dancing, is it's fantastic. You know, there's others who've got full body movement that can wheel their wheelchairs or dance around the room. But it just shows that anyone can dance, anyone can compete. And what I think, if there's something you love doing beforehand, then you became disabled, carry on doing it. There's no reason why somebody can't still go and watch football or rugby. And if you loved playing rugby beforehand, there's wheelchair rugby. You know, so if you like hitting people, trust me, wheelchair rugby is you smash into each other and you hit them just as much. So say if you like racing and you're fit enough, then carry on in the wheelchair. I've been a wheelchair user for 17 years. I only started this beginning of last year, and I wish I'd done this much sooner. And it was the only motivation I had was being told I wouldn't be able to do it. Somebody says you can't do something, and you think, right, I'll show them, you know. And I did one, and then I had a good reason to sign up for more through Helen's treatment to raise money, and it was successful for her. So, you know.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon.